Have you ever wondered what truly makes a successful software engineer? Well, I can tell you for one thing, it's probably not what you think it is. Over the past 7 years, I've had the journey of transitioning from a junior developer to now a successful business owner. I worked at NASA, I got to work at Big Four, and now as a successful business owner, I finally learned what it truly takes for a software engineer to succeed not only in the engineering space, but also outside in entrepreneurial space. And what I'm going to do in today's video is I will show you the two brutally honest truths / things that you need to know in order to succeed as a software engineer. And let's start off by saying that it has nothing to do with your technical skills, okay? All good software engineers are good programmers, but not all good programmers are good software engineers. So while being a good programmer is necessary for you to become a good software engineer, it is far less important, in my opinion, than the two truths we'll be discussing shortly. With that out of the way, this video is largely for those of you who are aspiring to be software engineers, for those of you who are already a software engineer, and for those of you who are even veterans in the space. Let's not waste any time and let's just get right into it. As you might already know from my previous videos, I had one of the fastest promotions pretty much in the space with regards to how long it took me to promote from junior to senior and then to finally manager, right? And my pretty much junior to senior level promotions took on average 8 to 9 months, and then my actual manager level promotion took me close to a year. But nevertheless, this was about 3 or 4 times faster than the industry average, industry standard. And the main reason for this was A, communication, and B, marketing. So these are the 2 points that we'll be talking about. And in my last video, I talked about these, but many people said, okay, but how? How do you actually go about communicating better in marketing? So this video will strictly be dedicated to that. Let's talk about communication. We first need to understand that there are 2 forms of communication when it comes to being a software engineer. There's a few more other, but let's say that these 2 are the most important because they are. Number 1 is oral communication. Number 2 is written communication. Oral communication is largely what you will be most essentially used to, right? So whether you're talking on Teams or Zoom or whatever platform you're choosing, if you're in person, you'll be talking in person, but simply speaking with another person is oral communication. Written communication is a bit more different, right? It's about sending out the emails, it's about making PowerPoint presentations, it's about documenting your code. Each one is important. In some cases, one is more important than the other, right? Depending on the situation. So we'll be talking about how to get better at both, but we first need to understand the most critical thing when it comes to actually using both. And the most critical thing to improving your actual communication skills, whether it's oral or written as a software engineer, is first understanding who you are talking to. I make the classification of are they a technical person or a non-technical person. But you yourself, depending on your own current situation, you need to make the same classification in your head. You need to understand who is the person I'm communicating with. Who is my quote-unquote target customer, right? Who is my quote-unquote target listener in this case? Who am I speaking to? Are they a technical person? What do they want? What do they need? You need to consider all these things in mind because especially when it comes to a professional environment, whenever you're talking with a client, whenever you're sending out an email, if you're developing a product and then you need help, you need to know who it is you're communicating with. Put yourself in their shoes. Understand from their perspective, see where their strengths lie. Try to see how you can tailor the way you communicate to them and keep things as simple as possible. If you can explain something without using technical jargon, do so. You don't need to overly complicate it, right? And the second thing is, a lot of times I see that software engineers struggle a lot with keeping things simple and explaining the complex problem or the things that are going on in their head and really just getting to the nitty-gritty of things without wasting a lot of time. I'm sure you're familiar with some of the meetings in the software space, right? It takes hours and hours. And let's say you schedule a 30-minute meeting, it turns into 45 minutes, 1 hour, 1 hour 15, 1 hour 30, because people simply don't know how to communicate effectively and efficiently. And largely, if you are a software engineer, the best way of doing so is, this is kind of a hack that I've used, is think of pseudocode. So you already think of pseudocode whenever you're approaching a programming problem, right? What does that actually entail? You look at a problem, you break it down into bits and pieces, and then you sort of try to solve it without actually coding. You just try to get a general idea of how you would solve it, and then finally you put it into practice. Communication is the same exact thing, whether it's written or oral. When you're writing code, especially when it comes to documentation, you need to understand that, guess what? A technical and a non-technical person should be able to read your code. Don't use any jargon like that. If you're publishing it online to GitHub where everybody can read it, then try to make it tailored for everybody. If you're going to be showing that documentation to specifically the client who will be using the software, then you need to tailor that documentation towards the client. Don't use any technical jargon and make sure that you put yourself in your client's shoes. If you're talking with somebody and whether it's a problem you need to get across or it's a solution you're looking for, first break it down into multiple components. If you're explaining to somebody a technical solution, right, software you made or a problem you're having, break it down into bits of pieces of consumable information that they can actually actively listen to and understand. And this is especially true when it comes to writing. Oftentimes, whenever you're giving out a status report or whenever you need to send an email asking for something, clearly state in that email what you're asking for, right? For what I often like to do, and even to this day in my own business, whenever I'm messaging other businesses or I receive emails, and my own team, I train them for this. Whenever you are sending an email to somebody and you want to ask them specifically something, right? You want them to get them to do something. Literally what I do is I put it in bold letters, D-ask, T-H-E space A-S-K, and then colon. And then I put my writing, whatever I'm asking there. Anything above that line, anything below that line is simply subsurface information that if they need, like a prerequisite, they need to understand what I'm asking. But the most important thing, I just highlighted right there, the ask. You need to do this in both your written and oral. In your oral, you keep things simple, right? You don't literally say, okay, the ask. But you try to help the other person understand that, okay, this is what I'm asking for, nothing more, nothing less. If you need more information, I can give it to you, but keep things simple and as short and concise as possible. This is especially true to meetings. If, let's say, you think the meeting is going to take you 30 minutes, put about 15 minutes and try to get that information across in 15 minutes. And if it's taking more, then simply to just take more time. So let's say, think of it as a pyramid. At the very top of the pyramid, you have your most important information you need to get across. This is the core thing. You get this across, and then the bottom layers of the pyramid are essentially the building blocks of, okay, did the person understand what I'm saying? If not, push one of the building blocks towards him. Did he understand it again or not? Then push the other one. But keep things, separate in bits and pieces and only give out as much as you need to get the information across. Don't overload them with information. For example, the best way is pretty much on every single PowerPoint presentation that I ever did in my life, I had, let's say, 10 slides where I would present it, and I would have all the supplemental information in my brain talking about it. But if they wanted to see specific data on it, I had an appendix in my slides. So I would only present 10 slides, but I probably had close to 90 slides. And in the appendix, I had specific tailored information to whatever it is they were going to ask me. Less is more in this case, okay? Try to get the information across as soon as possible. Another thing that I really like doing, and all of these things that I'm talking about, I'm still using it in my business today. Even though I learned it in my software era, right? I'm still using it in my business today. And I force pretty much every single person working for me to know all these tactics and understand them. Is any time that there's a meeting and a meeting concludes, what I like to do is have a quote unquote summary of the meeting. I send out a short written, essentially you can call it an email, but if it's on Teams, maybe I'll even send it on Teams, essentially summarizing everything that you talked about and the action items that you took away from that. This is especially true for many of you, especially if you're going to be in software engineering meetings. There's going to be a lot of useless random information being talked about that's simply not helpful to anybody. But during that maybe 1 hour long meeting, there'll be about 5 minutes worth of actual information to listen to. And what you should do is capture that information and then send it out to every single respondent that was on that call. What this will do is A, it will actually place you as an authority because you were the one that paid attention, and B, now you managed proper communication because now you communicated the most essential aspects of that entire meeting. You converted that 1 hour into just 5 minutes, and then from that 5 minutes, you converted it into literally a couple lines of text. So remember two things. One, know who you're talking to. You know what I mean? Do they look for, maybe if you're going to communicate something, are they looking for more so evidence-based? Are they looking more so for emotional-based, logic-based? What kind of person are they? And number two, whenever you're communicating with doesn't matter who, split it into bits and pieces. Think of pseudocode, how you approach a specific programming problem. Do the same thing with communication. And once you have this honed down, this communication skill honed down, you will not only skyrocket in terms of your own position as a software engineer, right? I'm talking about promotions, pay raises, because pretty much what you'll be is you will be the strongest link on any team you're on. People will love you. You'll summarize everything after meetings. You'll summarize everything after calls. You'll be in constant communication with your manager asking how to improve, and you'll just be somebody that anybody can come to and get instant information. And this is what I largely used to my advantage in pretty much all the positions that I was in. I was the information broker. I was a guy that pretty much knew all the critical information that I needed to know, and I knew how to give it to them in the most efficient manner. They didn't need to waste 30 minutes or an hour on a call with me because they knew that, hey, this guy, Bago, he instantly tells me what I need to know. That's what you need to make sure you become. Now, that's the first thing, the brutally honest advice that I was talking about. Second thing is marketing. Because no matter how good a product is, no matter how good you are, if you cannot properly display your capabilities, you will never, ever, ever be successful, whether in software engineering or especially in business if you get into that later on. What you need to understand about marketing is that It has nothing to do with your technical skills. You can be the best programmer in the world, but if you don't know how to show the person in front of you, if you don't know how to show your boss, if you don't know how to show the person that is interviewing you, that you have these capabilities, then they're not going to know about it. And they're not going to give you the benefit of the doubt. They're not going to give you the second chance. They're not going to go out of their way to actually make you show that to them. Right? So the number one thing you need to work on is better branding yourself and marketing your own capabilities to the world. How can this be done? Obviously, the most common way is resumes. But what I did, especially when I got my job, I would send out personalized emails to the positions that I was applying to. These emails included Loom videos of me. I would literally take a recording of myself when I was applying to these jobs, and using my communication skills, I would hone my marketing skills even better. How many people are going to send a personalized video to the company that they want to get hired for? Not many people, right? So what I would do, I would send out personalized emails to people. I would send out personalized Loom videos to individuals. I had a personal website where I had pretty much all my not only technical stuff that I had done, but also how I grew as a person. Because the number one thing you need to show to the people, especially if you're going to get hired at some of these top companies and later on potentially lead a team, you need to show not only your technical side, but who you are as a person overall. What are your strengths and weaknesses? There's a reason that most often than not, the people at the very top of companies, they are non-technical people. Because technical people are used as the workforce. They're used as essentially the wheels that make the car go. But the actual engine, or the person who even made the car in the first place, right? The person who put everything together is going to be a non-technical person in this sense. Because the CEO most oftentimes, sure, they'll have some technical knowledge, but the reason they're actually the CEO is because they know how to solve problems, and pretty much every single problem can be solved with the aid of another human. And that is, guess what? Communication, right? And marketing there. And we talked about sending out the emails. We talked about sending out the Looms. Another important thing that I really like doing outside of the personal website, having a personal website, and I haven't seen anybody actually talk about this, is going in person. What do I mean by this? I remember when I first started my business, the first few clients that I got was literally in person. I put on a suit and a tie, and I walked into businesses, local businesses, through the front door, asked for the CEO or the person that was there, and I tried to pitch them in person, trying to convince them about what I did and who I am. And when I was first starting off in the software space, I remember in university there were a lot of career fairs happening where people would just come in, hand in a resume and go. And what I would do always outside of that is I had a business card that I made for myself. Even though I wasn't anybody yet, I was pretty much nobody, I had a business card that I would give to these recruiters or these people that I saw at career fairs, and I would tell them, how long are you in town for, Are you here for maybe for just today, or are you here going to be tomorrow as well? And I would say, let's go get a cup of coffee. Because especially if they were new to the city, I would tell them, look, you'll see around the city, there's a really good spot that I know, and I just want to take like 5 minutes of your time, 10 minutes of your time to rack your brain and to really get to understand the position better, and so on and so forth. Most people were more than happy to take me up on my offer. Why? Because they saw that this guy went out of his way to create a business card, to show himself, to put himself in a situation of coming towards me, communicating with me, and instead of just handing in his resume, he asked me out and to actually just get to know him as a person, right? And most people, especially if you're in a state of you're going to be working for somebody or you're looking to join a part of somebody else's team, they're going to be more than happy to take you up on that offer. Because guess what? They're looking for that type of person. They're looking for somebody who will take things in their own hands, and they're looking for somebody that will do what nobody else is doing. This might be a bit controversial. A lot of times in these companies, people don't promote the best person. Everybody thinks that the United States, especially, that it's merit-based. Sure, you can see that sometimes, but a lot of the times people simply hire who they like. People simply promote who they like. People simply push people forward who they like. At the end of the day, it's really who you know that makes what you know valuable. So that's another really important thing. I know a lot of things now is social, with social media and everything, a lot of things is online, but don't underestimate the power of in-person meetings and in-person influences, right? Especially if you're at a career fair and you know that maybe the people that are at the career fair are only going to be there a couple of days, then ask them, can I bother you for, let's say, 5 minutes or 10 minutes, or maybe even before tomorrow you show up to the career fair, let me treat you to a cup of coffee, or let me treat you to this nice pastry that's unique to this location. Whatever the case, try to get them on a more personal basis and try to market yourself as, look, I'm somebody that's different from everybody else. I do what nobody else is willing to do, and I'm willing to think outside of the box to get to what I want. Because you guys got to understand that what these marketing and communication skills essentially end up displaying to the other person is that this guy is special. He's unique. the way he's moving around in the world is completely different versus every other software engineer that I've seen. And when it comes to the technical side, they're going to value that a lot more because most businesses know that even if somebody is lacking technically, they can hire them, and within 3 months of training, that person is pretty much as good as new already, right? As good as another 4.0 student that just graduated from university. This is also the case that you see a lot of times people who have extremely high GPAs but no experience don't get hired nearly as often as those who have lower GPAs and have somewhat of an experience behind them. People don't necessarily value the technical skills as much, but rather everything else that comes with those, improving those technical skills. So the communication skills, the marketing skills, and everything, and so on. If you can understand these 2 points of improving your communication and improving your marketing, and pretty much just leveraging everything that I told you to, you will, I guarantee you, just completely crush the competition. Focus on working on your communication. Not only will it help you get promoted faster, you'll become a lot more likable in the environments you're in, and focus on marketing yourself better. Not only will you, guess what, get promoted faster and also get higher pay raises, everybody will be gunning for you in terms of, I want this guy to be on my team, I want to work with this guy. And these 2 core skills, over time as you develop them and as your technical skills keep increasing, you'll realize that you're literally now ready to become an entrepreneur yourself and get into the business world. I'm trying to get to all the comments in the videos, but there's a lot of them, so I'm having a bit of difficulty trying to get to all of them, but I'm trying my best, guys, trust me. And most of the time what I'll be doing is anytime I see comments that are talking about, addressing a specific problem, I'll be sending them out in my newsletter because there might be a lot of questions that I can't get to, and I'll just make an email post regarding it and just send over that thing. So make sure to subscribe because it will literally be life-changing. And without further ado, as always, guys, thank you so much for watching and have a good day.